Welcome back to the online computer vision classes. In the last class, we started our discussion about perspective modeling. In this class, we will continue and conclude our discussion about perspective modeling. So what we did in the previous class is we discussed what it means by perspective projection, and we also figured out that suppose if you are given a pinhole camera model is what you are using, and suppose you have a point in the 3D space xyz, and also the distance from your pinhole or from the center of projection to your image sensor, then what would be the projected one of this 3D point onto a 2D surface which is there at a distance, let's say f, from the pinhole camera, okay, on the other side of the pinhole camera. We also discussed about how the mathematical model that you would be using, an equivalent mathematical model to to the pinhole camera model, where instead of having the image sensor at the back at a distance, let's say f, mathematically it is more convenient if you keep it at a distance f towards your object or the point xyz. So that part also we discussed in the last class. And in fact, we have also derived the perspective transformation matrix, which by multiplication of which you could get for a given point xyz where it goes to on the projected plane, which is a 2D projected plane. So that's what we discussed in the previous class. And we ended the class by looking at this slide, which tells you that while in 3D, the objects are which are, let's say, the lines which are parallel, how do they get transformed? That's what we were just started as a teaser in the last class, where we would see that in perspective projection, even the lines that are parallel could converge to a point, okay, and that point in fact is referred to as a vanishing point. So this is where we left in the previous class. So what we do in this class to begin with is to just get an intuition first on why the lines, parallel lines, converge here. Then let's have a mathematical analysis of it. We are equipped with the required mathematical stuff in the last class itself. We'll continue our discussion on that further and analyze it mathematically. So that's the first task we are going to do in this class. Right. Now, again, you have to imagine the 3D object, how it is, because the moment you are seeing things, that itself is like with the eye itself is a projection of a 3D object on a 2D plane, and your screen is a 2D projection of the object on a 2D plane. So there is no way you could actually see the 3D and other than imagining. Okay. So now assume that there are two parallel tracks there, which we have all seen. Why they would converge, let's just see, get some intuition on that, and then we would follow it up with the mathematical analysis. So assume that you are standing here and observing it, okay, you could, I'm saying you are standing here and observing, it's because we also have a 2D projection in our eyes happening on the back of our retina, okay, on the retina and the back of our head, right, on the back of our eye, sorry. Otherwise you could also think there is a camera kept here, okay, that's also is fine, and getting an image. So then from this pinhole there could be a distance here. Now assume for the same distance, you have seen enough background for that now you could assume that it's equivalent to projection here, which is at the same distance before the center of projection, that we have seen in detail in the last class. Now look at how that object which is there in 3D, now, when you connect that from the center of projection, the points on that each of those two lines, which are 3D lines, which are lines in 3D, that's better expression for that, would uh, get projected on this 2D plane, this 2D plane being H here. You could see here two lines which are there in parallel. Now when you see you connect them out from this point O, because that's equivalent to your hole there in the pinhole camera, you would see that they would in fact get intersected there at this point. So that's geometrically, by drawing a diagram, you could see that parallel lines in the 3D world would get converged in case of a 2D plane. So what we are going to see now is how does parallel lines in 3D get projected. Okay, so let's take the coordinate axis here. Let's say this is X, Y, and Z, the coordinate axis here. Now, assume that there is a line here, a parallel line, another parallel line here. Okay, so again, you visualize it in 3D. Now, hope some of you would have seen how to represent the lines, the line representation, which is convenient, particularly when you are dealing with parallel lines. You might have seen it, but let me again do that here. Even if you have not seen it, not very difficult, you could see it now itself. Assume that I have a vector of A, B, C here. Okay. Now consider a point. Let's say one point is good enough in your for one line. Suppose that point be x naught, y naught, z naught. Okay. Now this A, B, C is telling you in which direction you have to move from this point. Okay, any multiplication of this vector A, B, C and adding it here would make you go through this line. That's how it is. Okay, that's how you could represent the line there. So how you could, let me first write the expression, and for example this line can be represented, let me call this as line 1 L1. So how I could represent that line is, in fact, you take x naught, y naught, z naught vector. If you consider that point as a vector, plus t times, you add to that a, b, c, and this t could vary from minus infinity to plus infinity. It can take any real value here. So that would allow you, suppose for negative values of t, I would be moving in this direction, okay, in the direction to the left, and to the right of that point, I would move by taking positive values of t. Of course, t equal to 0, I would stay at x naught, y naught, z naught itself. Is this representation clear, or any questions here? Because this is the key ingredient for all further analysis. Is this clear? How I represented a line in 3D? This is something like the slope, okay? And now this direction would tell me in which direction from this point I have to move. That's all. Suppose if you want, I would show it for another point, if that is going to help you. Let me call this as line 2, for example. That line 2, I could represent it. It's a parallel lines, means they have the same value of A, B, C. Okay. It can be a unit vector, but not necessary, because anyway, T is there. That's a kind of, you could finely vary that value. Okay. Let me call this as X1, Y1, Z1, for example. Then L2 would be equivalent to x1, y1, z1 plus t times a, b, c. So all you are saying here is you just need to pick one point on the line, and to that you simply add this vector. You move in this direction of vector, and by changing the magnitude with which you make a move there, or add to that point this vector, you will travel across this line. This is the vector. See, this is giving you the direction in which it's a 3D vector essentially that you are keeping at XYZ. And by changing that, so basically you are moving this vector to that point, and you are either scaling it up and scaling it down. That scaling up and down is given by this T. That's all. Parallel lines will have same A comma B comma C, and of course the point which you are using here, for example x naught, y naught, z naught, that's all could change. So this is a very convenient representation of parallel lines. So I am now writing the same thing in a slightly in a scalar form. So x of t, for example, let me just take this L1, is nothing but x naught plus a times t. Okay, I'm just writing in terms of vector representation. I am using a scalar representation. Y of t equal to y naught plus y of t equal to y naught plus b times t. See here, b times t. Z naught g of t equal to z naught plus c times t. And this t could vary in the range of minus infinity to plus infinity. Then this, with this varying this parameter t and knowing x naught, y naught, z naught, you could represent any point on this particular line L1. Correct? Now, hope you still remember the expression for this x. Assume now this x of t, y of t, and z of t is the 3D point that got projected on a 2D plane, right? And the resulting point be x dash of t comma y dash of t. That's the point I have. Okay, this 3D point to 2D. That's the perspective projection. Correct. So now also assume that the distance is f. Okay, between the center of projection to the image plane. So then, what is the expression for x dash of t? You should be remembering from the last class. Multiplied with
F by Z.
that's all. F by, now I would write it as g of t here. Okay, because it's a variable in terms of t. The point could, it's parameterized in terms of t. Okay, so let me, for more convenience, write it as x of t by g of t times f. Okay, let me substitute those values there. X naught plus a times t by z naught plus c times t into f. That's my x dash of t.
So what is
Similarly,
F here?
f is the distance. It's like the last time one only. So where f is the distance, if you recollect, I was taking this x, y, z here, right? And I'm taking a projection here on a plane. Okay, and this distance is f. Do you remember that the last class we were
Mhm.
doing?
Yes, sir.
That's all. That's the f, the distance from the center of projection to the 2D plane where you are taking a projection of the 3D point. You might be having a 3D point here. You are taking that projection here onto this plane, and the distance. So this is your z, for example. So this distance from the center of projection to this is f. Let's write the expression for y dash of t. That's equal to y dash of t equal to, so I know here x, y, z. Okay. Now this is x dash comma y dash. I have it. My z is in fact for this point is f. I have a 2D plane. So y dash of t equal to y of t by z of t times f. Okay. Refer to the last class. This is equal to y naught plus bt divided by z naught plus ct times f. Okay. Now let's consider a case. As you could see here, this parallel line to see the other extreme, essentially, suppose I want to go to the right side of this x naught, y naught, z naught. Okay, you take right side and left side along that slope, so that would make a better sense. So what should be the value of t to reach to the two extremes of that line? Essentially, t has to tend to, yeah, plus or minus infinity. Plus infinity will give me to the right side, then minus infinity will give me the right to the left side along that slope, of course. Then what would be the approximate value of x tilde of t as t tends to infinity? A by c times f. Similarly, y dash of t is equivalent to,
B by C times F.
very good. See here, this value, as t tends to very high value, either in be it in negative or positive, then x naught can be ignored here as t tends to a large value. Same is the case here. You could ignore z naught compared to c times t, however small the cb, as t tends to plus or minus infinity, z naught can be ignored. So that's equivalent to then at by ct times f. Tt gets cancelled, a by c times f, and b by c times y. These are the expressions that you are getting. Now, from these expressions, Can you tell me now why two parallel lines would intersect in the perspective projection? It is independent of x naught, y naught, whether you are taking, see, the only way you could distinguish two parallel lines here is this x naught, y naught, z naught, x1, y1, z1. These are different. But take a note here, this expression has become independent of x naught, y naught, and z naught. So it doesn't really matter which point, whether you are considering this line or this line, because those two differ only in terms of x naught, y naught, z naught, or x1, y1, z1. Those points is all it is varying. But as at a very high value of t, both those lines would have the same common point here, right? So that is why you could say all parallel lines, right? Starting at different points, starting at different points. uh, okay, let me call that to be generic xi, yi, comma zi. Okay, each one giving you one parallel line will all uh, converge to which value? X comma y given by a by c times f and b by c times f. X comma y values would become, what are they going to become? X comma y values for c equal to 0.
Infinity.
Yes, infinity. That means they do not converge at all. It is the only one special case where parallel lines would remain parallel in case of a perspective projection. That implies x comma y doesn't converge. These values are not going to converge, right? That implies parallel lines remain parallel. Okay, so let me again so can you tell me what it means by c becoming 0? Any idea on that? Just take a look at this expression of what it means by c there, and can you draw an inference what could be, what it means by c not varying?
It means the camera is just right in front of the image,
Very,
like without making any angle with it.
very good, very good. It is like I have two parallel lines, okay, and if I so assume that here are my parallel lines here, okay, and my camera is like this. The center of projection is perpendicular to these lines, to put it more technically. So that's why I could manage to keep parallel lines as parallel in 2D projection also. If I don't keep my camera, suppose if these are the two parallel lines, I keep my camera, these are all four parallel lines, assume that. Okay, I keep a camera here and take a picture. As you extend those parallel lines, they would meet somewhere. Okay, and only way where they will not converge is when I keep my camera like this, in which case this would become, you could figure it out mathematically here, it's not difficult, that this is the case it corresponds to, and that is when your parallel lines would remain as parallel. See, I have first, is this clear that even if whenever I have parallel lines, two parallel lines are there, okay, they are there in my like in this horizontal plane, okay, to the same plane, I kept now it in such a way that my center of projection is now perpendicular to this plane in which the parallel lines are there.
Yes, sir.
Then don't you think you will get parallel lines itself?
But if we only locally we can see that they are parallel, right? So if we look a little ahead or behind, maybe.
Right. See, what you do here is also not necessarily every time in the image itself they would be converging. It's like, look at here, for example, you know that this is parallel, and to that this object is also parallel. They will not immediately, not necessarily would converge in the image that you take itself. It only tells you that if I just extend them, they are going to converge. That's all it means. Although I keep my camera in this direction, not all the time they have to converge. Suppose for that matter, I could tell I am taking the image only till here. Suppose this part is not at all there. So then this part won't be there. You would just see in the image till here. But vanishing point is that you need to extend them, those two which you are getting. It might go out of your region of your interest that you are taking, but somewhere they are no more parallel. There is an angle. As long as there is an angle, the moment you extend them, at some point they would merge. But if I'm taking it this way, these lines would remain. See, you are essentially smashing them. The way you are smashing, you are just lifting them and keeping them on the plane. When you have it, your center of projection is this, okay, or your camera is kept this way in that manner. This parallel here, it is just you are lifting them and keeping there. You are just dropping the z information there, or z is constant in fact. Can a line become a point when you
Yes,
take
sir.
a projection? When is that case possible?
When we take the camera in parallel to the line.
Right, correct. If the line is like this, I am keeping my camera here exactly. There is no angle like this. Okay, it is just like this, and then I am taking a projection here. Then a line can become a point as well. Okay, so this derivation. So points go to points, lines go to lines. These are, and even line in the world can go to a point as well, right? Polygon would still map to a polygon. Planes go to planes or half planes. So this is how the just like these are the points we are making out, similar to the ones which we made earlier while discussing about image transforms. That's what you could observe in case of the perspective projection. Okay, this is another nice example. Suppose you have two cubes here. Okay, you set of cubes here, and they are kept such a way that this is, again, you need to imagine in your mind. There is no other way. There are set of parallel lines here, right? So this line is in fact parallel to this line of a cube. There is one parallel line here. This is a parallel line here. If I take, there is one more, okay, this on the other side, these two edges are also parallel. Okay, these are four lines. Now the nice thing with here is there are four sets of parallel lines, and they would converge to the same point. That's what is going to happen. Now it is not the only set of parallel lines that are there. Okay, this is what I talked about, but then there is one, this line is there, this line is there. Similarly here, this and this, these are also there. And when I again do a perspective projection of them and extend them, okay, they would converge at another point here. Okay, so any other sets of parallel lines are there? I said 1, 2, 3, 4. These are parallel lines. 1, 2, 3, 4. These are parallel lines. Any other sets of parallel lines are there?
The vertical ones.
Yeah, for you, I think this again difficult to say. These lines are also there. This is one set. These four also form a set. And another important property that you would observe in perspective projection is that the locus of all these vanishing, the intersection point is what we call it as vanishing point. Each set of parallel lines would converge to one vanishing point, and the locus of all vanishing points will form a line. That's a very interesting, nice property here. So when you are doing a Photoshop, copying and pasting something and creating an image, retaining this property would be very difficult, because you are manipulating it and you would end up. But because of the properties that we discussed, when you are taking an image that has sets of parallel lines, it has the locus of all these lines all these vanishing point will be lying on the same line. So this is one thing. Second, all sets of parallel lines should converge at the same point. So if I'm keeping the book here, and if I'm getting the projection of these two versus these two, they cannot converge at different points. It's a single point. This we derived already mathematically. The locus is not something you take it for granted For now, we are not going to make the derivation, but if you are interested, you pursue it further. Okay, so that's also, we will just look at it as a property for now in the interest of time. So first important point is each set of parallel lines meets at a different point. Okay, vanishing points will be different for each set of parallel lines. So by set of parallel lines, I mean these four are one set, these four are one set. Okay, this, these are another set. So there are in fact here three sets of parallel lines. Each set of parallel lines would converge to a different vanishing point. Okay, but all converge, the whole set would converge to a single point, and sets of parallel lines on the same plane lead to collinear vanishing points. So, but all those vanishing point would lie on a single line here. This is a good way to spot faked images because scale and perspective don't work there. Vanishing points behave badly. Okay. Supermarket tabloids are great source. That's where you see some fake images. If you see them, you could actually use this analysis and do it. The same thing they have drawn here in 3D. Okay. Now this image, I think I have shown you while discussing about the human vision, where this is one common question we perhaps you might have encountered in some puzzles, where you say which line is bigger. The first intuition tells you that this line is bigger. Okay, that's how we feel when you look at it, and then say, well, you have been cheated by your human vision. Look at properly, you draw two lines here, and just that these arrows are in this manner, but these two lines are the same. Okay, that's how we think that there is some issue with our human vision, is a defect of that, but not at all that's true. We have been trying for interpreting 2D, 3D from 2D, and in perspective projection, these two arrows are different. You look at this example here, you are taking a picture where you are close to this. Okay, this picture, in order to get this, you should be somewhere near to the ticket counter. So assume that maybe you are standing somewhere close to it and taking a picture, or maybe somewhere here. So then what would you observe is, this is, you think of it as a 3D object of a 3D cube here. Of course, the walls, these lines, this and this has to be parallel. Similarly, the ceiling has to be parallel. So this and well, this and this, these are all parallel lines. Now you look at how the same is the case here. Now you look at how this looks like. Okay, and if you extend this by two lines here, if you just draw two lines 2D, the wall here would obviously would look like these two lines would converge, are trying to intersect. If you just extend them, they are going to intersect at some point. But we know intuitively, after we got, I would say we got trained. You will see more in the next coming class for that, if for more details, is that this is definitely much bigger, okay, than this counter thing you have here. And that's why you see a arrow here like this, right, and a arrow like this here, and we would say this is bigger because that's the whole wall and this is just this thing. So we are well trained, okay, over the time to interpret that this we should treat it as a bigger line than this, that region is much larger. So it's not all that bad. Okay, although it's an illusion, it's considered as an illusion. This is something we have been trying to interpret properly the 3D from 2D diagrams. Hope that is making sense to you. Is that clear?
Sir, how is it helping us?
Okay, see, as far as, okay, let me then rephrase it slightly differently. Let me erase for the moment. See, as far as the length is concerned, these two are same. Do you agree that?
Yes, sir.
Because that you could see by drawing these two lines. But that's the whole corner of your wall length. The whole length of your wall is there. And in part of that, you had a counter here. So in 3D, this is definitely much bigger than this. Do you agree with that?
Okay, so we interpret it in the right manner.
Correct, correct.
Okay. Yes, sir.
We are interpreting from 2D correctly the 3D, despite in 2D they are of the same length. And that you would observe here by variations in this arrows here. You would see this arrow would be something like this, and this arrow is something like this. So with that, we are done with the actual perspective projection. I'll introduce to you two more projections that you would come across and then wrap up this. One of them is referred to as orthogonal projection. Okay, this, let me see, I could, yeah, this is, sorry, not orthogonal projection, orthographic projection, where it is a kind of, you have this 3D object, you have a screen, it's being parallel to the screen and just putting it here. So you simply will be losing the Z information, but X and Y coordinates would remain same. Okay, here you consider this as your Z. When I am keeping it this way, the whole X and Y would remain same, and this is referred to as orthographic projection. So how could I say that in other words is, in my XYZ in the world, I take a projection here. It's a kind of, it's also referred to as a parallel projection. Okay, and this is something you would come across later if you are going to work in the area of something that requires this projections. So XYZ would simply become XY, orthographic projection, where what you are going to get here is X dash equal to X and Y dash is going to be equal to Y. So I hope you still remember. So well, if I want me to write it, the expressions we were writing it as UVW, we will represent in that same form here as we did last time, UVW. Okay, how are we doing it? So UVW means, do you remember that your X dash will be equal to U by W, Y dash equal to V by W? We were doing that, right? So if you want to then we in fact went to keeping one also there. Okay, so if you remember, or I will just quickly show you that. If you don't remember also, that's fine. Finally we were writing it in this form, our perspective projection. So let me now try to write that in the similar form. UVW is equal to something, some matrix representing the orthographic projection into X, Y, Z, 1. Okay, now, well, this UVW, I should get X dash equal to U by W, Y dash equal to V by W. So what should be this one? Actually, can you tell me what should be the UVW value here to get these things? So given UVW, this is how I compute X dash, Y dash. So how should be my UVW? That should be equal to X, Y.
1.
Right, that's all. Now you look at it. In order to get X dash, I need to do divide the first element by third element. So X by 1, I would get X here. To get Y dash, the second element needs to be divided by third element, Y by 1. That would give me this one, right? So that is what I should get now. UVW equal to XY1. Now I would like to write it as a multiplication of XYZ1 with some matrix, okay, which this I will call it as M subscript ortho. Now you tell me what's the first row here. This is, by the way, this is 3 cross 1. This is 4 cross 1. So this is obviously 3 cross 4. Now you tell me what is the first row. This is 1, and then what? 1.
All zeros.
All zeros. And what about the second element? 0, 1, 0, 0. And what about the third one?
0, 0, 1, 0.
0, 0, 1. Okay. Is that clear? Just you multiply. I'm just trying to, this should be equivalent to XY1. If you want, I'll write this also here. So I'm manipulating everything else for that. Okay. So just you see, multiplication should give me that. Now, it should tell you why I have here introduced a additional column here, despite that was not required in perspective projection. With the same 3 by 4 matrix, now I could represent orthographic projection also. For orthographic projection, I have here, this whole thing has nothing to do here with XYZ. In fact, when I am multiplying with that, in order to get 1 here, this 1 is required and this element is there. So that is the reason why earlier we have introduced their additional column, so that with the same 3 by 4 matrix, I will be able to represent an orthographic projection. Okay, is that clear? There is something else called as weak perspective projection, where I will just come back here. Right. So there is something else referred to as weak perspective projection. What it means is, see, you have a camera. From that camera, your object is at a certain distance, and then there is you have an object. Suppose, compared to your distance to the object, the variations within that object are smaller. So that means, in other words, you could consider you are looking at a very far object. So considering that that distance, you could ignore the value variations in Z within that 3D object. You could treat as if the whole object is at a distance of Z. Okay, there might be a maximum variation of Z naught within the object, but this G is so high that for that object you could consider as if the whole object is at a distance of Z naught. And this is referred to as weak perspective projection. So it's a perspective projection, but now you are making that assumption. So that's why this is referred to as weak perspective projection. So this is the last projection transform that we are going to discuss, and that's all. Weak perspective projection. What does it mean is that, suppose you have here x, y, z, 1 you have, and that's what you are writing. This z is a constant value, z naught. So again, recollect the expressions we got in a perspective projection for x dash and y dash. Okay, x dash was nothing but x f by z. Okay, you just refer back the expressions that we right now got in the beginning of this class, or in the previous class. In fact, f by z into x and f by z into y is what we got in the previous class. Now what you are saying is this, in fact, within the body, the 3D object that you are considering, you are assuming here, okay, you are assuming here that z equal to z naught. Once you are considering the object variations of the height within the object are constant, then this is, or there is no variation, in fact, then you call it as weak perspective projection. So then what would you say? X dash equal to, okay, let's, before that, let me call as, let s equal to f by z naught. Okay, this is no more a variable. Notice here, then this z, I could treat it differently because that z is no more there. So let me call it as, let s equal to f by z naught. So my x dash is equal to s times x, y dash equal to s times y. Okay, so now how do you write now UVW? UVW, again come back to this, your x dash equal to u by w, y dash equal to v by w. So what should be my UVW? X dash I should get as sx. So I could take here x and 1 by s, and then of course this would be equal to y comma 1 by s, right? Now the same thing I want to represent using a similar size matrix that I was doing here, which is, I want to have here a 3 by 4 matrix, and this multiplied with x, y, z, 1. That's what I would like to get. Well, this here I have to get 1x. So that's multiplication would be 1, 0, 0, 0. Then I should get y here. So 0, 1, 0, 0. then I should get 1 by S, nothing to do with Z. That's the dependency got eliminated. So that could come now as a multiplication here. And this is referred to as the matrix for weak perspective projection. Okay, this is with that assumption, the modified perspective projection matrix is referred to as weak perspective projection matrix. So let me again come back here to the presentation and make a note here. This 1 by S is nothing but Z naught by F. Z naught is the distance from F is the distance from the center of projection to your image plane. Z naught is the distance from to the object. From the center of projection to the object is Z naught. That's all. Okay. So let me come back here and show you all projections in one go is what you would be getting here. So essentially, perspective projection is Fx by Z and Fy by Z. Weak perspective projection is Fx by Z naught and Fy by Z naught. And orthographic projection is simply XY. Okay. So, and then this is the weak perspective projection. Here you are getting 1 by S. So that multiplication would give you Sx comma Sy. Is weak perspective projection clear?
So they say there are isomorphic projections, right? So are they similar to this?
Isomorphic projection, I need to figure it, I need to just refer to that name I had, but whether this is exactly same or not, I'll just take a look at and we'll get back to you.
Yes, sir.
As far as the naming is concerned, I'm not very sure right now. I'll just check it out.
Yes, sir.
Good. Any other question? Is there any confusion in this? Okay. So if not, this is called, I don't know, isomorphic, but here I see a name by called anamorphic. Hopefully you guys could, those who have some artistic interests could come up with something like this, where these are very popular drawings and very popular artists are there who could draw like this. Okay. For example, what you give them is this sheet of paper to anybody, and then this glass to project your that sheet of paper here. So then you would make a sense of this 2D drawing you made only when you project it onto the surface of the steel glass. Okay, then you would see the right image. And this is nothing but the kind of perspective projection that we discussed. So if any of the artists are there who have some interest, why not try something like this? And even maybe a group of you guys could come with some nice program where you could model the surface on which you want to project, on which you have this whole drawing kept. And then when you project, then that would generate you a printout, okay, which is a 2D of this. And what the other guy has to do is he has to, you will specify where this object has to be kept exactly, because otherwise the projection angle and everything would change, and then you would get the right picture. So there are quite a lot of, this is very popular. Okay, another such a drawing, such a nice drawing is this object, when you make a very distorted drawing, it looks like when you put it on 2D, but then you had a surface. This is actually, I would say, reverse engineering of your perspective projection. You would get a nice tree with all these birds also on top of it. Very nicely you would get here. Of course, you need to specify here. I think these guys have drawn a line here also. We had to keep that. So why not, you guys could come up another nice one. Different artists are there who are doing it, but you guys being engineers, you should download some images or 3D images, or somehow you should come up with creating those images if any of you are interested. See how nicely it looks like. This doesn't make sense at all when you look at it on the 2D, but when you say you give them the object where to project, and of course that should be a reflective surface where you could see the object, that looks, the eye looks so nice there. Okay, these are some of the byproducts of, I would say, because this is not for what we would be using this, although it's a different thing, but it's important that unless you understand this perspective projection and unless you are able to do it, if you want to do it through a program, you won't be able to do that. And later when you want to study things also, This perspective projection is mathematical concepts, whatever we discussed so far. That's the least things that you should have clarity about it. Okay, so I'll stop here with this, and we are done with the perspective projection. We had a couple of classes on this, and then what we would be doing from the next class on. So if you notice clearly, in case of perspective projection, you are looking at how a 3D point is getting transformed in or getting mapped to a 2D point on a perspective on a 2D plane. But in reality now, you might want to do exactly the inverse. I would rather give you two projections. Can you tell me what's the 3D object? Okay, this is all what we would be doing from the next class onwards. Okay, I'll stop here.